All right. We're joined by my great friend, Robert Lighthizer, who was the U.S. trade rep in the Trump administration. Bob Lighthizer, thank you. You know, I'm reading, I can't verify a thing, but I'm reading in a number of media publications that the Bidens are thinking about withdrawing the tariffs on China, supposedly in the name of fighting inflation. Now, you know me, I'm a free trader, except when it comes to China. I have different views. So I want to get your view on this. Is this time to pull the tariffs on China, really?
Well, first of all, it would be just an historic mistake and a real betrayal of the American people. First of all, on this question of inflation, it's complete nonsense. We had these tariffs in place for 2 years, as you know, and there was no inflation of any significance. Secondly, the inflation is primarily on food and energy and all these things that came out of this crazy policies that we've had. None of those things do we import from China. And I guess finally I would say $40 billion worth of tariffs in a $23 trillion economy, it's ridiculous. Even the people that are against them say it would be less than 0.2%. So it's crazy. But far more important, Larry, is as bad as inflation is, and it is terrible, the China challenge is more important to the long-term interest of American families. It just is. And we cannot surrender to them for this foolish reason or for any other reason. One has to start with the proposition, are they friend or are they foe? And anyone who doesn't realize at this point that they are a very, very aggressive adversary is either a knave or a fool, because no one can study it and conclude the contrary. So to walk away from this, I think, is seriously one of the most important things that President Trump did in his 4 years, was change this narrative and let people realize the threat that is China.
You know, Bob Lighthizer, a couple points here. You're completely right. When President Trump imposed the tariffs on China in 2018, 2019, particularly 2019, there was no increase of inflation in the U.S. Didn't happen. I mean, actually, as we looked at, Kevin Hassett, myself, and others, number crunching, I think it, on balance, hurt China more than it hurt us, really, and there was no inflation impact. Right now, Bob, the yuan is sinking. It's hemorrhaging because, they've closed up Shanghai and, locked up because of COVID. So there's no inflationary movement. Here's what I'm thinking, and I think this is what, to your point, if you ended the tariffs now, at this juncture, it would be tantamount to surrendering to China. That's the way I look at it. Pure and simple. It would be surrender. And we do not want to do that.
There's no question that that's true. They are a bigger threat today to the United States, to our economy. I mean, look they have the biggest military in the world by far, and they're increasing at a rapid pace. They have the biggest Navy, the biggest Army. They're militarized in the South China Sea. They're clamping down on Hong Kong. They're threatening Taiwan. They're very aggressively anti-American in their diplomatic corps. They're building bases all over the world. They're stealing our technology. They're spying. They're doing all these things. How can anyone not think this is the most important policy we have to worry about? And I think in this administration, there are good people that understand that. And I just hope those people prevail, because there are a lot of people that don't seem to get it at all. Can you imagine, can you imagine selling, or having a $3 or $4 trillion over the last 10-year deficit with the Soviet Union during the Cold War? I mean, we condemn Germany for buying all this stuff from, the gas from Putin, and yet we turn around and spend $500 billion a year in China. It's crazy. You know what comes to mind, Larry? In 1934, Neville Chamberlain approved the sale of a bunch of Rolls-Royce airplane engines to Nazi Germany. Right. And when Churchill called him on it, his response was, trade, like religion, should have no frontier. Well, this is nonsense.
So, okay, let's carry that forward. If the Bidens pulled the China tariffs out, wouldn't that undermine and jeopardize the ongoing implementation of the Phase 1 China deal that the president negotiated, that you led our trade team on? I mean, I always thought the tariffs were important there as really a policing and insurance mechanism.
Well, for sure that's true. But what this would do is it would, without question, increase this enormous trade deficit right now. It would encourage more imports. It would cost more Americans their jobs. I mean, it would literally cost us jobs. We would take our treasure, more of our treasure, and ship it to communist China. It is absolutely insane. It would make us more dependent on them, not less dependent, more involved in their economy and theirs in ours. It would encourage all the kinds of things that we're against, including the military buildup, the theft of technology, all of these things. It would be exactly the wrong thing to do. We ought to be increasing tariffs, if anything, on China, not getting rid of them.
I mean, I just couldn't imagine the headlines around the world. 365 billion of tariffs removed on China. It was like we're rewarding China, in this case, as you say, for bad behavior. They are adversaries, a huge threat. I mean, it would just, the symbolism would be terrible, the reality would be terrible. I hope they don't do it. I don't know if you're in touch with the Biden's special U.S. trade reps, but you ought to weigh in because they're about to make a huge mistake, and I hope it can be avoided. Give you the last word.
If I can just add one other thing on this. There's this competes bill, this China bill that's moving through Congress. The Senate provision of that would very largely get rid of the tariffs too, and a bunch of people voted for that, and it would largely eliminate the ability to use that tool 301 against China in the future. I mean, that's another huge problem. The Biden administration is looking at getting rid of these tariffs, but there's a provision in this Senate version of that China bill which would do effectively the same thing. And would it be another surrender to China?
Yeah, I have about 150 reasons why that bill is very bad, but one of them is what you just suggested. As I say, Bob Lighthizer, you won me over, at least in part. I am a free trader. I hated the steel tariffs, as you know. You and I were together with Mnuchin. We didn't want a trade war with Europe, and we helped you, or tried to help you, with USMCA and Japan and South Korea. But on China, you got to use these tariffs. That was the only way to do it. And I think Trump was right. And your point about Trump, ringing the bell, sending the message, clarifying it, you're 100% right. We can't pull that out. No way. Anyway, I got to go. Bob Lighthizer, never enough time, but thank you for your views. Appreciate it. Great to see you. Talk soon.